All right, well, hey, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it. Had a great time last time, although that last one we did a little out of date now because like Xamarin.Forms, a lot has changed over the past 8 months or so, and there's been a lot of structural changes to Prism and how you get set up and things like that. So after this advanced one, we might have to redo that intro one later.
That sounds great. We'll get that set up too.
All right, so yeah, so today we're going to be talking about navigating in an Mvvm Xamarin.Forms application, and we're going to do that using Prism. Before I get started, I'd like to just kind of give some contact information in case you have any follow-up questions. You could email me at blagunas@inversion.com. I blog regularly at brianlagunas.com, and really the easiest way to get me is on Twitter at brianlagunas. As you can see by the Invergistics up there, I work for a company called Invergistics. You may or may not have heard of them, but essentially what we do is we write UI controls that you use to build kick-ass applications. All right, so if you need a chart, you need a grid, pie chart, radial gauge, all kinds of stuff. If you need it, we got it. You just drag and drop it into your project, into your XAML file, bind some data, and you're off and running, right? Anyways, I'm also the author of Prism. Now, this isn't an intro talk, it's more of an advanced talk, but I want to give you an overview of what Prism is because a lot of you are new. It's like, what the heck is Prism? Never heard of it. Essentially, it's an application framework, or it's a XAML application framework. It was born out of WPF and Silverlight and brought over to Xamarin.Forms. Now, a lot of people call Prism an MVVM framework. That's not 100% accurate because it encompasses more than just MVVM. And really what it's about, it's all about patterns and practices and guidance. Like, we want to show you nice, clean ways to build applications that keep them testable and maintainable. The good thing about Prism is that it's open source, so you can contribute, you can download the source code, fork it, add features. I mean, it's all out there for everyone to use and consume. And it was part of the .NET Foundation before the .NET Foundation was cool, right? So if you watch these big events on on Channel 9, like Build and things like that, and they make these big announcements during keynotes, oh yeah, this company is now part of .NET Foundation. Everyone claps. Yeah, Prism's been there for a while. So it's good to know that you have a big organization that backs it as well. So, what do you get from Prism? Since Prism's not an MVVM framework, it's more of an application framework, what all really does it come with? Well, the big things that we really care about are MVVM support, of course, that's like number one, right? Then you have commanding, messaging, how do we communicate between loosely coupled components, navigation, a dialogue service, dependency injection, and many more. But these are really the core pillars of what we really care about. And navigation is the one we're going to be talking about today. We're going to deep dive into navigation because that's really, that's where the bread and butter is, right? So this is today's agenda. It's a lot, but I think we can cram it in there, okay? First, we're going to talk about registering for navigation. Then we're actually going to talk about navigation because there's two types, there's relative and absolute. And these are the topics I want to talk about. We're going to learn how we can pass parameters from one view or view model to another view or view model. We want to know how our view models can participate in navigation, meaning, how do I know when this view model's been navigated to? How do I know when it's been navigated away from? How can this view model tell the navigation service that you're not allowed to navigate? Just wait a minute, right? We also want to know, how do we clean up our view models? Like, when we remove a page from the navigation stack, how do we clean up all these resources and whatever else that's in there to minimize those memory leaks? Then we're going to talk about a feature that is extremely powerful and really fun to play with, deep linking. We'll definitely talk about that because that's really fun. And then hopefully we'll have time for some of the more common navigation scenarios like, okay, I'm in a master detail page. How do I navigate the detail back and forth, right? I'm in a tabbed page. How do I know when I change tabs? These type of scenarios. And, depending on your questions, that might lead us one path or another. But, I want to try to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to ask questions and interrupt me, and it's going to be fun. So that's it for slides. If you're wanting more slides, I'm sorry, I'm not really a slides guy. That's all I really got. I just want to go ahead and hop into some code.
Okay,
So,
and Brian, you and I were talking about this too, but just so everybody knows, there is a lot to cover, and we might go over the hour that we typically do, but we do record all these guest lectures, so we understand some people might need to drop off at around the hour time period, and that's fine. You can come back and you can watch the video too. We just have a lot to cover and a lot of great information that you're going to show us.
Yep. Okay, so what I have here is I have a simple Android Xamarin.Forms application. I'm only targeting Android for obvious reasons. I'm on a Windows machine and I don't have my my Mac hooked up or anything. So I'm only targeting Android, and this is a Prism application. Now, since this is not an intro, I'll tell you how I created it very quickly. If you go to extension and updates and you search online, if you search for the Prism template pack right here, right? So if you go online, search for Prism template pack and install that. What's that gonna do is this gonna install some project templates for you. So if you say new project, right, C# Prism, Xamarin.Forms, you can see we have different projects for different containers. And I'll talk about containers very briefly. For now, we have AutoFact, Dry, IOC, and Inject, and Unity. So you just pick one of these, and then you'll get prompted for whatever platforms you want to target. Like I only wanted Android, so I just hit create project, but for now I'm just gonna cancel out. We don't care about this, right? Okay, I think that closed my application actually, so let's open that back up. All right, so this is essentially what was created minus some very small changes I made to set up for this demo. Now, right now, when you create a blank Xamarin.Forms app using the Xamarin.Forms template, what you have is a line of code in the constructor of your app that looks like this, right? And Rob, how's my font size? Is that good or do I need to up it?
Looks great to me.
Okay, cool. All right, so you'll have like main page equals new main page, right? That's kind of the default experience. Well, we're gonna modify this, but before we get there, I have to point out something very important to navigation and Prism. So I have a main page. It's a very simple content page, just has a binding to a label. That's it. And then this page has a view model that just has a title that we're using, okay? Very simple view and view model scenario. Now, the very important aspect to this is this line of code right here. We're using Prism's ViewModel Locator. Now, Prism's ViewModel Locator is not like most ViewModel locators that I personally hate. I don't like the static classes you have to have, and every time you add a view, you have to open up that static class, and you have to add a new property which represents the view model for that view, and then go back into your view and add the markup. Like, no, forget about it. What this does, it's an attached property that all you have to do is set true or false. If it sets to true, it uses a convention that basically says, hey, the name of this view plus view model is the view model name I'm looking for. I'm gonna resolve it automatically and set the binding context. We're done, we're out of here. You can change that convention if you want. We're not gonna get into that. But the reason this is so important is because if you don't have this, navigation, you will not get the navigation service. It will not work. And the reason is the nature of navigation in Xamarin.Forms is that it's specific to a page. You cannot have a global navigation service in Xamarin.Forms. It's very page specific. And it gets even more complicated when you have a master detail page where the detail is a navigation page that has a tab page, which has a nested navigation page with a content page in that, right? Things get complicated. And each one of those pages has their own navigation service with their own navigation stacks. So that's why it's very important that each view model has the navigation service specific to the page. And the way we do that is with this attached property. So just keep in mind, if you're using Prism Navigation, this has to be there or it will not work. Okay. Now let's go back to the app.xaml.cs. As you can see, this is a Prism application. And right now, we are going to try to navigate to main page the Prism way. Now, that means we're going to get rid of this main page equals new main page. We want to say navigation service, which is a property off of the Prism application itself, .navigate async, and then a URI. So this could be a string or it could be an actual URI, but we're just going to keep it simple and we're going to keep it a string. and I'm going to call it main page. That's all I'm going to do. Now you're going to say, whoa, wait a minute, Brian. How's this going to work? All you said was main page. Well, right now it's not going to work because there's a step that has to be done first. Any page that you're going to navigate to in your application must be registered for navigation. And this is done off of what's called a container. So we have a property which represents our container. In this case, we're using Unity as our container. So this is the Unity container. I'll talk about a container in a sec. Next, we're going to use the register type for navigation. And I'm just going to say main page. What this does is it registers this main page class, this view, with the navigation service using a key of main page. That's my unique, my unique key, if you will. That's what I'm using here. So if I didn't want to keep that main page as a unique key, I can provide my own, like, my page. If I change this unique identifier, I have to change my navigation code to point to the correct identifier, right? So this is my key that I'm assigning for navigation. Anytime I navigate to this key, I'm going to be navigating to this page type, okay? So for now, we're just going to revert that back to main page. Of course, in production applications, you might want to have constants and things like that to get rid of magic strings, but this is the most important part. If you don't do this, it won't work. Now, let's back up to a container. You're saying, okay, Brian, what the heck is a container? So Prism relies heavily on the concept of inversion of control. And to achieve inversion of control is we use a dependency injection container. Now, all inversion of control says is, hey, I have this object, for example, this main page view model, right? I have this class and it needs to be created. Well, instead of us being in here saying like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to say, var vm equals new main page view model, right? We're not going to do this. To me, this is a big no-no. I never use this code. I never create objects. Instead, I rely on a container such as Unity or Ninject or AutoFac or Dry IOC to create those objects for me. So whenever I register this type for navigation, under the scenes or behind the scenes, it automatically registers this page for me with the container automatically. So it happens and you don't even know it, right? Now, another option for registering type for navigation is I can actually provide the view model here, the specific view model as well. So if you don't want to use the naming convention, you can just say, hey, use this exact view model. This is faster because if you rely on the convention, we have to use reflection. If you provide the type, we already have it. We don't have to use reflection and it's instant, right? So we're talking a blink of an eye, but still every blink of an eye adds up to something. So you can do it this way by providing the view model, or you can just do the naming convention. Doesn't matter. You pick which one you want to do. Okay. So once we're registered for navigation, that means our container now knows about our main page. Our container knows about our view model and all that stuff. Okay, Brian, but what is using a container? What does it buy me? Well, we're going to see in a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so we'll just kind of pin that right there for now. So what I'm going to do now, let me bring up my emulator. Let me check the size. That may be a little big. How do I bring this? Oh wait, I think I just resize it, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to run the application, and what I expect to see is the main page. So let's just run this. Our types are registered for navigation, and we're navigating using the navigation service and the uninitialized of the Prism application. And these emulators are supposed to be really fast. Oh, and by the way, I just updated to the 0.3 update. You might want to hold off on that because I've been having some stability issues. So FYI. All right, come on.
Yeah, the first time you start Android, it always takes a little while. After that, it should be a little bit faster.
Well, are there any questions and while this deploys?
Yeah, actually, this is a great time to ask some. When we're talking about the template pack, a couple people are asking, is that template pack available for Visual Studio for Mac, or is that just Windows?
So we had a version for Xamarin Studio, but something happened with the Mono Develop website and it stopped building. So our team is trying to figure out why in the heck it stopped building. We did have a version for Xamarin Studio, which would have ported over to Xamarin Visual Studio for Mac really easily, but we can't get it to build anymore, and we don't know why. So we're working on it. It's on our backlog for sure. It's there, just it's not working. And it's open source for all those Visual Studio for Mac people who might be able to know what the problem is. Please help us out. Okay, so here we go. Nothing fancy. Hello world. Here's our main page. Perfect. That means we actually we navigated. We did exactly what we set out to do. Okay, so let's go ahead. What I want to do is I want to create another page here, because now what I want to do is I want to go from main page and I want to navigate to another page. But before I do that, let me show you something really cool actually. Okay, what's very common is when you have an application, the root page is actually a navigation page, and then you navigate to some type of core page, right? You basically wrap your core page in a navigation page. I want to show you how to do that right quick. So let me just get rid of that. The easiest way is to register type for navigation the built-in Xamarin.Forms navigation page. So because I did this, I automatically know the key to this navigation page is navigation page, and I can put a / main page. Now I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but this is leading into deep linking, okay? But I want that there so we can see how the back buttons and everything behave, right? So what I did now is I said, look, when I start this app, the main page, actually, hopefully this will be quicker, is now wrapped in a navigation page. And anytime I navigate further, it's all in the navigation page, and we get the software back button at the top automatically. And there we go. So there's my navigation bar at the top now. Before we didn't have that. We're in a navigation page now, so it's there. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I wanna create another page. So I'm gonna create a new item, and because I installed the Prism template pack, it's gonna save me a ton of time because I'm gonna go Xamarin.Forms, I'm gonna say a content page, and I'm gonna call it View A. I'm gonna hit enter. Now watch what happens when I do this. It created my page. It also created my view model for me automatically, and it automatically registered it for navigation, right? So I didn't even have to type any of that. Otherwise, I'd have to do all that by hand, and I'm not all about that. I'm a lazy programmer, so I want to make it as simple as possible, right?
But again, so Brian, again, that's just for Windows, right?
Yes, this is just for Windows right now. Everything I'm showing you is Windows only until we can get the Visual Studio for Mac support finished and working, actually.
But on the Mac, you could just manually create that view, and you could manually create the view model and wire them up. So it's not off limits. It's just a little bit easier on Windows.
Yes, it's a lot easier on Windows. Yes. And yeah, so on Mac, you guys, I'm sorry, you have to do that. 3 steps. You have to add the view model. Well, actually 4. Add the attached property, because if we open up the view, we can see that we already have the attached property here as well, right? So actually, let's go ahead, and I got this cool little toolbox I use. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's completely free. This is a Xamarin.Forms toolbox, so I can just drag and drop my components over. See that? And so I'll grab a label, stick it in there. We'll say text equals view A. That'll work. Okay, so now we know what view we're on, and we might as well add a title to this as well. Perfect. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to get from main page to view A. So let me close this. We'll open up main page, and we'll throw a button in here. We'll give it some text. We'll just call it navigate, if I can spell. And then we'll throw a command on there, like a navigate command. Whoop, I guess I should bind that, huh? All right, so that means that I'm going to have to add a navigate command to my view model. So we'll go to main page view model, and I'm using the Prism template pack here. So I have some snippets in here that I'll use to just kind of speed things up a little bit. And for can navigate, we'll return true. I'll always allow that. And then this is where we start talking the good stuff. Okay, all right, Brian, you know what? When we first launched the app, I had a nice friendly property of navigation service. It was just given to me. I didn't have to do anything for it. But now I'm in the main page view model and I want to get to view A. How do I do that? Well, in order to do this, we're going to need to get the navigation service. And to do that, all we have to do is create a constructor and ask for it. How do I ask for it? I'm gonna say, hey, I navigation service. And here's the kicker. It has to be named navigation service because we're using a container to inject this for us automatically. And due to the nature of navigation, it has to be instance-based. This is a named instance we're asking for, so we get the correct one. So it has to be called navigation service or you will get a null reference exception. So I'm gonna store this off up here. And if you had something like ReSharper, it would make that a lot easier for you. Navigation service equals navigation service. Okay, I have the navigation service. If I can spell. Okay, so now what's gonna happen is whenever I click this, I want to navigate to view A. All I have to do, say navigate command, not command, navigation service, navigate async, and guess what? We just provide our key, right? So let's go ahead, that looks good. We'll run our emulator. And if I name, I already see a typo. Build, cancel, right there. I just had a quick typo there. Now we're good. See, this is how people really program. This is real life. As long as I hook that button up correctly. So here's our navigate, boom, view A. And we have our software back button and our hardware back button. Awesome. So that's getting from one view to another. We could also, if we were on view A, we could call go back, and of course it would go back. Due to time constraints, I want to speed things up a little bit. So now that we have view A, we can navigate to that. We got to talk about other things, like for example, passing parameters. Like I have information from this view model, I need to get to the other, but I don't have any reference to that target view model or that target view. So how do I pass parameters to that? Well, we have a couple options. First, we can create a new navigation parameters and add something like ID and then some value, I don't know, 10, all right, whatever, and then pass that in as an argument. Okay, so when we pass these parameters, now we got to ask ourselves the question, well, that's cool, Brian, but how in the heck do we get those parameters in this view model? Well, I want to introduce you to INavigationAware. Now, INavigationAware is an interface that provides you three methods: on navigated from, on navigated to, and on navigating to. So these are pretty self-explanatory, but essentially, whenever you navigate away from a view or view model, the on navigated from will be invoked. In the process of on navigating to, the view has not yet been pushed onto the stack, but it's been created. That's on navigating to. On navigated to means that the target view has now been pushed onto the navigation stack, and it's going to be rendered. So this is after it's been added to the stack here. So for example, maybe I want to initialize some data before the view is shown. So I can grab this information from the parameters like var p equals parameters index of ID, and we need to cast that. I think a 10 will cast as an int, so we'll just hard cast it. So I'll hit a breakpoint here, and we'll see. I'll make sure. Yep, go ahead.
Question about that, Brian. Can you pass over full objects, or do they have to just be value types that are serializable?
You can pass full objects if you want, although I will caution you not to do that if you have a client server type app. I would always suggest getting the correct current state from the server. But if it's just simple data like this, yeah, totally, you can pass an object, no problem. So now if we look in here, we can see that we have our parameter of 10, right? So we can look at our parameter list and say, oh yeah, we have, we actually have 2, and that's because Prism actually adds some information in there. The first one being ours, like our ID, and then we also know the navigation mode, like this is a new navigation. I'm navigating to a new page. If you're going back, here, let me show you some cool stuff actually. So if you went parameters dot get navigation mode, right? I know how I'm navigating. If I'm going back, if it's a new navigation, like we try to give you information about what's happening. That way, when you're calling on navigated to, you know if it's in response to your navigating forward in the stack or if you're navigating backwards in the stack. You get that information. Unlike the Xamarin.Forms, on appearing, disappearing, you don't really know if you're disappearing because you're navigating away or appearing. It's hard to know which direction you're going. So we provide you some information about the direction of the navigation to help you make decisions. Okay, so something else I want to point out, and I'm going to comment this out because we're going to play with some types now. This is not the only way to pass parameters. You can also do something like this, right? Basically an HTML query, a URI query. That's all this really is. And when you create this class, it gets parsed out to a query like this. So you can pass multiple parameters like this. Of course, it would be a string on the other end. And so if you were trying to pass a number like 12, if you do it this way, is my num lock on? Yeah. If you do it this way, it would be a string, and you would have to convert that to an integer, as opposed to if you do the navigation parameters class. If you see, you can actually pass the object value, and this would retain its type information. So just keep that in mind. Another thing you could do is something like, oops, right? You can do it all in line here. Well, I didn't put my, so this is valid as well. So lots of options, and this really is flexible whenever you're launching your app from like a website or something. You can pass all kinds of information on there. Okay. So go ahead.
Another question. Are there issues of passing around lots of data? So if you had like a kilobyte of data, would you want to be passing that around in the navigation parameters, or how about performance-wise?
Oh, well, that's a pretty broad question that has a lot of variables that would impact performance. If it's in memory, it's already in memory. You're passing it around, and it's a pointer to the same instance, so you're not going to see any real performance hit passing around an object that's already in memory. Recreating objects over and over and over, that might get intense, but passing the same object around, there would be no issue there. You're not going to take up any more memory because it's pointers. You're just pointing back to the same memory location.
How about affecting the garbage collector? So now you have lots of stuff that has a handle to that same memory. Is it going to cause a memory leak or anything?
It's always possible if you start hooking into events. Like when you're passing object instances around, you open yourself up to those types of things. That's another reason I kind of recommend you don't do that. It really depends on the object. I always pass around the minimal amount of information I need and refetch data from the server. That's what I do. Like I always pass the ID of the person.
That's what I've always done too. Even if you're not going to a server, even if I'm going to just a local SQLite database, I've done the same thing. I'll just pass the ID and just go load it up from the local data store again, so you're not passing that kind of stuff around.
Exactly,
and then destroy it when you don't need it.
And where you really get in trouble, let's say you have this person object you're passing around to multiple pages, and then one page edits it. You just updated that same person instance for every other page, and now your data you may not have wanted all that data to be updated, and it's all the same object, so all that information is the same now. You're not passing a copy, you're not getting different copies of it or loading it for different screens, so every screen just got updated.
Good point.
You got to be careful with that. Okay, so let's talk about, real quick, let's talk about absolute navigation. Okay, let's see, I was 11:32. Oh, I got so much stuff to talk about. Okay, so there's two types of navigation. What we've been doing is relative navigation. Relative meaning it's relative to where I'm calling navigate. So main page view model, it's relative to the page I'm navigating from. So if I said view A, I'm on main page, so I'm navigating from main page to view A. If I was on view A and navigated to view B, then I would be navigating relative to view A, I'm going to view B, right? That's relative navigation. Let's go ahead and let's do this real quick. Let's add another button here. I didn't mean to put it there though. I meant to put it right here. And we'll do some text here. And we'll do another command. Navigate command. Yep, that'll work. And then let's go to the view A view model. We'll add a yeah, I don't care about, well, I better fix that misspelling actually. Okay, that'll work. All right, so we'll have navigate, can navigate. And then we'll want our navigation service. So for sake of time, I'm just gonna copy it out of here. Where's my IntelliSense? Oh, that's why I don't have it. How come I don't have my IntelliSense? Oh, this is why. I put it in the wrong spot. See how dependent we become on IntelliSense? It's amazing.
It does let you know something's wrong though.
Yep. Okay, so now we have our navigation service. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna navigate async. This is gonna be hard because I don't have another page. Let's add one more page. Only because it's quick. We'll add a view B. Because everything is just added for us. And so we'll add our title on view B. And we'll just leave it blank. I don't care about that. Okay. Well, actually, we better put something there so I know I'm on view B. Label, text, view B. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have our view B. So now let's say, what about absolute navigation? What is absolute navigation? Absolute navigation is essentially resetting your entire navigation stack. It's analogous to main page equals new main page. That's what it equals. So whenever you do an absolute navigation, you're basically resetting the main page of your entire app. It is a reset button, if you will. And to do that, the easiest way to do absolute navigation is just put a preceding slash, just like that. Whoop, that would be an error. Okay, so as long as I spelled everything correctly on my view A here, let's run this up, start that up. Any questions while this is booting up?
Yeah, we had one. Are the view models and the pages instantiated lazily? So what's the lifetime of the view models and the pages after they're navigated away from, after they're popped off the stack? Are they garbage collected at that point?
Yeah, so whenever they're popped off the stack, they're just popped off the stack and they wait for Xamarin to do its thing. Okay, so here's view A. So right now I have a back button, right? So I'll hit back and we're back at the main page, right? I go back to view A, but now we're doing an absolute navigation. So when I do this, I expect to see view B. See, I have view B, but there is no back stack. If I hit this back button, we exit the application, okay? We reset the entire navigation stack. Where am I? Right there. By doing an absolute navigation. Other ways to do absolute navigations, navigate async, you can do something like http whackety-whack brianlagunas.com/viewb, right? That's an absolute URI. Anything that is a valid absolute URI will perform an absolute navigation, which is reset the navigation stack, okay?
So in that case, would that open a browser or open a web view? Or
no, that would not open a browser or web view. This is a .NET absolute URI. Like, let me just do this. var URI equals new URI, right? I like to make noises when I code for some reason. This is equivalent to this. So this comes in handy for a couple different reasons. For example, maybe you have your own protocol, like my protocol, some type of test, app protocol or something. All of this is going to do, it just has to be a valid absolute URI to reset the navigation stack.
Okay, so how would you open a web browser if you wanted to go to brianlagunas.com, for example?
Well, then you would just use Xamarin.Forms, whatchamacallit?
Device set open URI?
Yeah, the device service to do that. That's another thing that Prism provides you, actually. iDevice service. I mean, that's a little off topic. Open URI. Essentially, this is Prism's wrap around the device service. That way, you can program to an interface. And I might not explain this well, but everything you do in Prism, when you need something in the view model, you're going to ask for it via an interface. And this is going to keep your apps easy to maintain. They're going to keep them extensible and testable. You can actually test this. If you are doing this, device service dot, some static, like messaging center is a good example of that. Is it messaging center? I don't remember, I haven't used it in so long. I use all Prism stuff. .send. This is bad. Like, I would never do this in my code because it's static, and it's really hard to test static implementations of things. So you'll see that Prism actually wraps a lot of the functionality in Xamarin.Forms to an interface. That way you can mock all that stuff up in your in your unit tests. Okay, 1140. We talked about relative and absolute. We talked about passing parameters. INavigationAware. So this is how you can participate in ViewModel, when you're moving away or going to. I also want to point out that the views themselves can also implement these interfaces. INavigationAware will add or using. Your views can also implement these interfaces, so you can respond and get those parameters that you passed in a view model to your view. Because some things are view related and you have to do in a code behind, and it's okay to do code behind in Mvvm. Like, maybe you need to kick off an animation if a parameter equals 10, or whatever. You have some logic you have to invoke on the actual view itself. So these interfaces can be used on the views as well. Another thing I want to talk about is how do we prevent navigation from occurring, right? So we have another interface. I'll do it right here on main page view model. I confirm navigation async. This is the one we want to use. We'll use the async one. But essentially, this is can navigate async. Am I allowed to navigate, yes or no? So for example, let's say that I'm going to ask for the iPage dialog service, if I can spell. Did I spell that right? Look at that, first time. I'm so proud of myself. So I'm going to ask for that dialog service. I got to save it off up here. Say dialog service equals dialog service. Okay, so now I can come in here and say, hey, return ds.display alert. So we'll say navigate. Missed that. Do you want to nav? And then I think we need to add another option here for an accept. And yep, and a cancel. Okay, so yes, no. All right, so basically I implemented I confirm navigation async. I'm gonna display an alert that lets me know if I'm allowed to navigate or not.
Brian, does that need to await that, or are you okay just returning the same task?
You just return the same task because that's the method returns the task.
Right.
So maybe I have a form here and I'm editing some account details and I say, okay, navigate. Oh crap, I forgot to save. Do you want to save? Yes or no? Do you want to nav? Yeah, I want to nav. Boom, you just navigated. We'll go back. Hey, do you want to nav? Oh no, I got to change something, right? So no, we'll stay where we're at. We'll make our changes. Then we'll go to navigate. Are we dirty? Save, continue, right? So very easy to interrupt that navigation process to just confirm you need to save or confirm information or make sure the user knows what they're doing kind of thing, which you have to do a lot actually. So I confirm navigation async you'll use a lot as well. And just so you know, I use this page dialog service. This is essentially a wrapper around the Xamarin.Forms display alert and display action sheet. Now we have some extra goodies in here if you want to dig into it, but obviously this is about navigation, so we're going to continue to talk about navigation. All right, so besides the view and view model participation, before I get ahead of myself, I also want to mention, yes, this will also work on the view itself. So you can have the view implement that same interface, it will check it. The view gets checked first, no, the view model gets checked first in the view, or the view model. I don't remember, I have to look at the code. They both get checked. First one wins, essentially. Whoever returns a false wins. And then it will exit the check. Okay, so another really important thing is cleanup. I think this is something that is missing from Xamarin.Forms, which I wish was made a little easier, but you know what? Prism has it for you. And so what's this mean? It means I can implement IDestructible. And IDestructible is a Prism interface that has one method called destroy. And so the only time this method gets called is when a view is removed from the navigation stack. So if you call go back, or if you hit the hardware/software button, then that view that was popped off the stack, view or view model, it will call that destroy method, yes, and it will allow you to clean up any resources that you want. So there, we hit it, boom. That was the software button I just pressed. I'll hit the hardware button and we still hit it. It doesn't matter, hardware or software. I also want to mention on navigated from and main page on navigated to, oh, hold on, crap, I gotta implement that. Let me implement INavigationAware. I wanna show you how this behaves, the INavigationAware behaves when you are, do I have that? Yep, there it is. When you are using the software back button, because it's slightly different because of the way Xamarin.Forms works and what information you have. So when you are hitting the back button, software back button, hardware back button, we can't fire on navigating to, right? So here, let me run this up. The only thing that will fire using the software back button or hardware back button is the on navigated to, because we don't know before you hit that button, right? That hardware software button. So we'll go yes. So I'm gonna hit the software back button. As you can see, I know I'm navigating away from ViewModel, from view a ViewModel, but we only hit navigated to when using the hardware software back button. This is important because we're not invoking on navigating to in this case. And that's just because we don't know when, right before you hit it, we don't know when you're gonna hit that button. And on navigating to is saying, hey, you're gonna hit this right before, we're hitting this method before the navigation occurs. So we can't do that. So that's one little nuance you have to be aware of. Hardware, software back button, on navigating to will not invoke, only on navigated to. And I wanna show you a trick real quick. Let's say I wanna pass a parameter back, right? I wanna pass a parameter back to main page, but I'm using the software hardware button. So I'm not making a go back, navigation go back call from the navigation service. Because if I use go back async, I could just pass a parameter. But in this case, how do you do that with a hardware software? Well, I gotta stop. On the on navigated from, I can say parameters.add, and we'll say back, right? Test, doesn't matter. I can add it directly to the collection here. So when we hit on navigated to, even though we don't get navigating, I can still access that parameter even though we used a hardware software back button. That's really cool. So let me just demo this. Don't care about that one, don't care about that one. Navigate, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the software back button. Boom. See that? Navigation mode is back, so we know we're going back. We're gonna add the parameter. Now we have the parameter right, not there, here, back test. So that's one way to pass parameters backwards when you don't have real knowledge of calling the go back method. It's either the software or hardware back button. Okay, and also just like IDestructible on the view model, it's actually really powerful to call IDestructible on the view, because you may not know this, but if you have like behaviors attached to your elements in your XAML, those don't get removed automatically by Xamarin unless they updated that in the latest preview. So you would have to add the IDestructible, and I'm misspelled that, I'm sure. I'm horrible at spelling. Right, so you can come in here and say, hey, my text block has a behavior, .behaviors.clear, right? So I can come in here and clear up my behaviors, event handlers, anything I'm concerned in my view that needs to be removed, I can also do that here. Okay, now let's talk about something else really cool. And this is actually gonna build the basis of the final talk, if you will, the final section of this. Deep linking. So what deep linking allows me to do is essentially build up an entire navigation stack, right, in one swoop. So you kind of see it here. We're gonna come back to this. So for example, in Prism, you're always building up your navigation stack. So navigation page / main page. We saw that what that did is it created a navigation page as the root, and it automatically pushed the main page onto it. But what happens if I say navigation page / view A / view B? What happens if we do this? So I'm gonna say navigation page, and I'm pushing 3 pages onto that. What happens when we do that? Well, let's find out. And I have breakpoints hit. And we have an unheld exception because I'm probably doing something with parameters. This is what happens when you put a whole bunch of code into something. Make sure that's all clear. Essentially what deep linking allows you to do is build up an entire navigation stack, and I'm sure I'm missing something. It looks clear now. In one fell swoop. And deep linking is actually used to build up very complex navigation structures. And I know I'm missing something because I've been going so fast. I am. Where's my call stack? Well, I don't want to debug it here. Essentially, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know which is my offending view. I'll have to find it. But if this was working, it would essentially say navigation page, then main page, then view A, then view B, right? So where this comes in handy is actually, ooh, you know what? I'm going to show you guys another cool thing. So I want to just go ahead and get into a master detail scenario, okay? But because I don't want to take that long to new up like the whole master details pages and create all those, I'm going to use a tool. So I have what's called the Inversion app map installed. Let me just show that to you. So extensions and updates, Inversion app map. So I have the toolbox and the app map. And you'll see what the app map is. I'm going to add a new item. We'll go Inversion app map. And I'm doing something wrong. Oh, that's my experimental instance. Crap. Yeah, sorry, I was working on that and I'm actually in the middle of testing it and I made a change right before this. So don't do that. Instead, what we'll do is we'll open up a pre-existing app. Sandbox, Xamarin, hello world. Here we go. So any questions while this the solution's loading?
Nope, I think we're good.
Man, I must be doing really good at explaining things. Oh,
I got another one actually just now. So do Prism modules assist in making the app start up quicker? What are the minimum requirements to do that?
Prism module. So we're not talking about modules per se, but it doesn't add any performance increase. So for those who are wondering what's a module, essentially Prism has this concept, what's called a module, and a module, actually I'll show you one. A module is essentially a project or portable class library, soon to be .NET Standard library, that is separate than the core, Xamarin.Forms PCL, that allows you to put your major functional areas of a specific section of your app in there. For example, if you look at this module, I have a module that has a tabbed page with 3 views in it, right? Now, this app references this module, but that's it. Like it has no other knowledge of that module. So what this allows me to do is build up this incredible navigation path, even though none of these pages exist in this project, they exist in this project, right? So that it just allows you to abstract away your different views. And no, it doesn't add any performance increases. It actually puts in a slight perf hit because we have to load these modules up. But this allows me to navigate using the URI. I can navigate from main page view model to a view that exists in this assembly up here without ever having to actually reference the type in the view model. Okay, so what we have here, let me go ahead and just get this building because I don't remember the last time I built this thing. What we have here is the sandbox app that's on GitHub on the project site. And basically the sandbox is just where I come and play with features. So when you download the source code, it could be broken. I don't know. I just come in here and I play around. I duplicate bugs. And right now it's not even building for me. Oh, because we're playing with .NET Standard stuff right now. Yeah, so Prism is converted to .NET Standard. Right, we have a preview on our MyGit. So we have .NET Standard support on our CI builds, and we're testing that now. So instead, we'll close this. And I have another one. No big deal. All right. So this is a tabbed page, but we can make this easy. We'll go Prism, master detail page. And I'll call it my master detail, because this is what people really care about. We don't want to skip this. Okay. So we got that, and we already have some views. So we need to add a master to this master detail. So what I want to do to save some time, I just want to do a little bit of copy and paste.
Okay, so are you back on app map now?
No, I'm gonna skip app map because I was playing with it and I.
Okay, so
I implemented. Go ahead.
Since you're not going to show, can you give another just quick explanation of what it is, and does it work just on Windows or is it Mac too?
Yeah, so app map is essentially, it allows you to use a Visio type experience to build out your entire application, right? And then you create your pages, your connections, and when you hit go, it generates the entire application automatically, the views, the view models, registers everything for navigation, and then after that, what it does is generates all the navigation code as well. So it just saves you a ton of time, and I wish I wasn't playing with it before I had this call, but you know me, I just can't leave things alone.
So I put the link to the Inversion site. There is a post on AppMap that has some screenshots and things like that. So that's in the chat window. If you wanted to bring that up real quick too, just to show people.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Oh, there's a chat window.
There should be a chat window down at the bottom of your GoToWebinar control panel.
Chat window. Oh, yeah. Here it is. And let's scroll down. Yeah, so essentially it's probably hard to see on my screen resolution, but you can kind of see the view you'll get. You'll get a little dialogue, and you basically create these connections using a Visio type experience, dragging over what page you want, and then it will generate that for you. And I'm actually really surprised that that didn't work. I didn't think I broke it that bad. Let me just try real quick. Infragistics app map. I guess I did break it. So lesson to everyone who presents, don't play with stuff before you give a session. Just leave it alone. Just wait until afterwards. Okay, so one of the most important aspects of navigation in Xamarin.Forms is a master detail scenario. So what I did here is I just created a master with some navigation. That means I need to open up my master detail view model. We'll add a command in here, cmd, navigate command. I always like to do the underscore, it's just a habit. And then we'll create our methods. Right here. And actually, this needs to be of T, because I'm gonna show you guys some really cool stuff. And then we can pass our parameter in here, string P, I just call it P, or URI, that's fine. All right, and we'll return true just for fun. Okay, this seems to work. We're gonna need our navigation service here. So I'm just gonna ask for it, INavigation service. There we go. And of course, we'll do underscore navigation service equals navigation service. And then our navigation command, we're gonna make this really easy because we're gonna say .NavigateAsync URI. Now I do this because I'm on my master detail view model. So I'm on the view model of this master detail page, okay? And then I have a navigate command for each of my buttons in the master of the master page. And the command parameter is the URI of the page I want to navigate to. Now, all these pages have already been registered for navigation. Yep, perfect. Okay, so I don't have to do any work there. Navigation page, so let me make sure the navigation page is, so that's not there, so let's do this. Container.register type for navigation page. Right, so that's there. I want to change this to actually my master detail. We want that to be our first page. And then I need to decide what the first selected page is going to be. Okay, so the root of this application is going to be the main master detail page. But we need to also build up this navigation stack. Remember, Prism is a little different. We want to actually build up the page structure. So I'm going to say I want the detail to be main page, right? Now, what this would do is just, I won't even have the, here, let me just run it. I think everything's right. This won't even have a hamburger menu if I do this, because if you know how the master detail page works, the detail page has to be wrapped in a navigation page in order for that hamburger menu to show up. So let's see if yep. But I know this works because if I swipe from the left, there's my master, right? And I'll navigate to view A. Hey, look, my view A is there. And I get my hamburger menu. Oh, whoa, that's confusing. Why is that? Well, first off, we need to make sure our detail is wrapped in that navigation page. And then I'm going to make this view A. I think, yeah, view A. Okay, none of these have buttons on them. That's fine. So now if I run this, there we go. Now we see the hamburger menu. See, I built this up using our deep link feature, right? Master detail, that's the first page. The details can be a navigation page, and then we're going to push a view A onto that, okay? Because we did not define a detail for the master detail page. We don't have to, because Prism's going to create it for me automatically, right? So we say master detail page, navigation page, because I want the hamburger menu, view A, and then here we go. Now I have all my options, view B, view C, right? Main page. Here's our tab control, our tabs, which we're going to get to in a sec. Now, because this one seems to be working, here's a bigger deep link, right? Master detail page, navigation page, view A, view B, view C. This is what I was trying to show in the other one that I obviously had an error somewhere. So what we should see is view C. Here's view C. We're back up to view B. We're back to view A, and now we're back at our hamburger menu because view A is the root detail that's in that navigation page, right? That's pretty freaking cool. Okay. Man, it's already 12? Dang, I got so much more cool stuff to show. Let me show you a tabbed page right quick, because that's another important thing. Let's delete all this. And I think main page is the tabbed page.
And I just want to remind people again, if you do need to go, this is all recorded, so you can come back and watch it later too.
Okay, so another very common scenario is, look, I have this tabbed page. I have view A, view B. I have this other view that's in a navigation page, whatever, right? The point is, you know, I have these views, and first off, I want to decide what view is selected when I navigate to this. So I'm gonna close master detail because we're done with that. So I'm gonna say, you know what? Here's the tabbed page, main page. And actually, you know what? I want to make this clear for anyone who watches the recording, so we'll just do this. So here's my tabbed page, and then I want to select, say, view B as the selected tab. So let's go ahead and run that. Now I'm building this up. We're using that deep link feature, saying, okay, tabbed page / view B, meaning I'm navigating to the tabbed page, and I want view B to be the target of that navigation, right? I want to specify the target. So there we go. View B is the selected tab. Now what happens here is because I specified a target, the onNavigated to will fire on this view only because this was the target of navigation. It's very important to understand that. So if I change this to view A, that's going to be the first tab. But you're going to say, well, Brian, what if I'm on view A and I change to view B? Well, this is what we want to do. It's another interface called INActiveAware. It has an isActive property. Well, that's different. That must be an update in Visual Studio. Why I put it all in one line. Okay, so get set. And then actually, do we want to convert this? Yeah, I want to convert this to a, we'll go bool is active. I actually want to hit the setters for breakpoints, so we're going to delete that. Hit a breakpoint. All right. So I implemented IActiveAware on view B. We've set the selected tab to be view A. So this is the target of our navigation, and that means the INavigationAware methods will invoke on view A only. And when this loads, when I change to view B, we'll see that isActive has been invoked, right? The setter's been hit, the value is true, the current value is false. If I navigate away from it, isActive is hit again, the new value is false, the current value is true, right? So this is how you know which tab becomes active or inactive, because there's a lot of confusion around navigation in general. And we've had a lot of discussions around tab navigation, and changing tabs is not a navigation operation. We're not pushing or popping anything when you change a tab. You're simply changing a selected tab, a selected page. So that's why you have to use the isActive property. Now, a little tip: if you want all your tabs, all these tabs, to invoke the INavigationAware methods, because by default, only the target of your navigation will invoke the INavigationAware. What you want to do is you'll come into the your ViewModel, or not ViewModel, excuse me, your tabbed page code behind, and you'll essentially maybe on appearing might be a good spot. On appearing, you'll essentially loop through for each of these tabs. Oh, actually, no. You know what I would recommend? Wouldn't be on appearing. INavigationAware. I would just implement INavigationAware and then loop through each of those pages, get their view models, and call the INavigationAware methods on your child tabs for each one, if that's the scenario you're going for. Now, the community, we have a big issue open on this, on how we can make this easier. So if you guys want to go over to the Prism GitHub site and discuss it, we're trying to find the best way to do this, because it's extremely complicated, and it all depends on intent. Because if we navigate like this, the INavigationAware methods will invoke only on the tabbed page. So you would use this trick to loop through all your children, and call the INavigationAware methods on all those tabs, right? But if you provide a target for your navigation, it would only be invoked here. So it gets really complicated, because INavigationAware fires on this regardless, and then it's going to fire on this. So you can see how it can get complicated, and it's hard for us to know the intent of the navigation. So we're trying to figure out a good way to do tab navigation. Man, I got so much more to cover, but I'm out of time. I don't want to go over anymore. I know that was very fast and a lot of information just kind of thrown at you, but I hope it kind of gave you some ideas of how powerful the navigation feature in Prism really is, and how you can have truly decoupled navigation from view models I mean, you can navigate to a view that exists in a completely different assembly and not even have to reference that. And one question I didn't get actually is, what if I want to do view model based navigation, right? How do I navigate to a view model? Well, first off, I would never condone that. I would never say do that, because what that does is, for one, it's very limiting because you lose deep linking, or you'll have to create some type of crazy extension method to handle that. But you've just created a coupling between your view models to other view models, and I don't even like that coupling. So some people really like this idea, like view A, navigate async view A, right? Or view A view model, sorry. They really like doing this, right? That is extremely limiting and coupling. I personally don't like this approach, but it is possible. You can actually do it now. It's just an extension method. You can write an extension method to support this, but you lose a lot of features that Prism provides you, such as deep linking. And since you don't know how deep the link will be, you can't just sit here and go, oh, type. How many of these are you gonna provide in your API? Yeah, it's just, if you want to do it, you can. It's possible, but I do not recommend it personally. Also, one thing I didn't show in this demo, because I was kind of going fast, is this is awaitable. So I do recommend awaiting it. And also, I recommend error handling. So this is what I would recommend for a more production application. Okay, so await the calls and error handle, put try catches around them, because a lot of those exceptions you get, you'll actually get information about them. So I wish I had more time. I know I went quick. I probably left more questions than answers, but I'm here to answer any questions you guys have, and I'll throw my contact information up here one more time so you can ask any follow-up, but we're out of time. That's all we got.
All right, that was fantastic, Brian. So yeah, there's a lot in there that I didn't know about with Prism, and kind of makes me want to use it on my next project, which is great. I think we actually have one question here that I think would be a great way to finish up, which is, why should you use Prism instead of other frameworks like MVVM Cross or MVVM Lite? What's your elevator pitch for Prism?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with MVVM Cross. MVVM Lite is a great framework. It's very, like it says, it's light, right? It doesn't provide a lot of things out of the box for you that you need in an everyday application. It doesn't have dialogue services, doesn't have a navigation service, a very powerful navigation service. It doesn't have the device services in there. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff that Prism is meant for. It's more of an application framework, like I said. It's not a simple MVVM framework. There's much more to it. And it really comes down to personal preference. I'm not going to say don't use MVVM Cross, because it might solve a problem that Prism doesn't, that your app has, right? So it's really evaluate the frameworks and pick the one that best fits your scenario, because Prism's not gonna, it might not work for every app out there, but it works for a lot. So it just depends. It's really a personal preference.
All right, I think that's a great answer. We all have to make our decisions based on our own apps and architecture. So lots of interest in having you back on. So maybe another kind of in-between class with more on Prism. There's a lot more I think we could probably talk about. So maybe we'll get that all hooked up too. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your time, all your questions. I think the questions really made it a great guest lecture. We'll get this video up in the next couple days. Brian, thank you so much again for all your time and knowledge and sharing it all with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can't wait to be on again.
Will do. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.